everyone, and welcome to the Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master David, and with me, as always, is Darth Austin.
Hello, everyone.
Is it still countdown to Kenobi? Are we?
Yes.
That's still what we're doing?
Yes.
Sweet.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't air before we post this.
Ah,
so yes.
dang, you're right.
Although every week I'm getting a little more antsy.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. We have we've been for the past few weeks kind of being a little Kenobi centric, as most of you who listen probably know.
And for everyone else, Kenobi obsessive.
Maybe just a little bit. But this week we are going to go Kenobi adjacent, I would say. So we're going to talk a little bit about the approaching storm, which is a Clone Wars, well, like kind of like a prequel book, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what we'll go with. Let's see here. Released January 29th of 2002. You believe that? 2002.
It's pretty hard to believe this is a 20-year-old book.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Author Alan Dean Foster, who I'm actually taking a peek now. I know he's done some other Star Wars stuff, but boy, he actually has a lot of writing credits. He's done
The Adventures of Luke Skywalker.
he's done Star Trek stuff too, or he's had some credit in some of the stories. I'm scrolling. There's a lot. He's
he did the Force Awakens book.
Did he? Force Awakens book. I'll be darned. Yeah, this page is pretty terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all wonky with mine. It keeps jumping back to the top. It's just too much information to load, you know?
Ooh, yeah. Hey, you want to lose? You want to lose our Disney checks for the week?
Sure. What are we going to complain about?
No, apparently he got into a little bit of a kerfuffle with the Disney company. Apparently, when Disney sort of acquired the rights to Star Wars, he wasn't paid royalties for ebook sales, I guess. And I mean, it was resolved fairly quickly, but apparently there was some royalty issues there. Interesting. He's done a lot of Star Trek stuff too. Very funny. Yeah, and the Force Awakens novel. There we go. So they brought him back for it's like, hey, we know we had some issues, but like, would you like to novelize the Force Awakens?
Does this make up for it?
Come on, bro. It'll be super cool.
Which, speaking of which, did you read that book? Because I have not.
The Force No. The only novelization I have read was The Last Jedi, because of some of the extras that came in that. And I think I was a little, look, this isn't we're not talking about Last Jedi, but there were some extras in that book that I feel should have been included in the movie, including
especially a few Luke scenes.
Well, yeah, Luke's third lesson to Rey. So, but the novelization was actually pretty good. I actually like the novelization better than the movie, which is like one of those classic book elitist things, right?
Lord of the Rings all over again.
Yeah, for sure. And our narrator for this, if you were going audiobook, which was basically 6 hours, so shorter, which to be honest, sometimes is good, especially considering our schedules and whatnot. Although you've had a little bit more time recently for
this week was a little bit more rough than usual, but I was very appreciative of it being a short book.
Yeah,
especially with it not being abridged, actually getting the full book.
Yeah, for sure. So, but it was narrated by Alexander Adams, who, yeah, I mean, it's funny because we've probably given a little bit too much crap to like Robert Petkoff and oh shoot, who is our other Mark
Our
Thompson.
mainstream guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Thompson. Kind of maybe listening to a little bit too much. So it is always nice to get a different narrator from time to time. And I'm just kind of scrolling through some of his credits. He's done a lot of like historical stuff, like president books, and he's got a nice
I'd
wide.
have a good voice for that. I mean, I enjoyed his narration. It was pretty good.
Yeah, his audio was definitely a little bit more compressed, I think, than the others. A little bit more trebly, just to talk a little bit about sound quality. But no, it was good. Oh, okay. So it looks like we're gonna get him in one of the new Jedi Order books. Oh, he's done a couple of them. Interesting. So we've got Rebel Dreams and Dark Journey. Dark Journey, I think, was one of my favorite ones. We haven't got to that one yet. So we're gonna hear more from him in the future of Star Wars books once we get back into the new Jedi Order, which is probably on hold for a little bit. We're like I said, we're
At least till Kenobi's done.
yeah, for sure. And of course, Kenobi, being a limited series, won't last for very long. But yeah, we'll obviously be running through that. So I suppose before we kind of jump into the meat of the podcast here, how's your week been?
Not too bad. Had my final interview and drug test for my new job, and jumping more into web development every day. It's been a good week. Pretty short. Have Friday off for first ultrasound, so looking forward to that. And then this weekend we'll be celebrating both our birthdays. Hopefully you guys will be able to make it. Smoke some food and have a good time.
Very cool. Yes, we will certainly be down. Yeah, this I don't know. What have we done? Well, we went to the symphony, the orchestral performance at the Ohio Theater, where we saw the full screening of Empire Strikes Back with a full orchestra playing the music of the movie, and that was
which was epic.
Yeah, the orchestra it was interesting. They were very good. They were very subdued, almost sort of naturally compressed. It was kind of interesting. It is
They
interesting.
blended in more than I expected.
What's that?
They blended in more than I expected. It wasn't super obvious if you weren't looking that you were listening to it live, which is good and bad, I guess, but very professional.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very professional. But it was, Ohio Theater, pretty fun place to go. So good show. Yeah,
Definitely a bummer that we missed the intro. Scrolling credits.
Yeah, we left a little bit late and then had to contend with parking and then walking over. So yeah, we missed just basically the beginning credits, which I mean that kind of stinks. But so yeah, aside from that, I mean the rest of the weekend was mainly just painting cabinets at the house. Yeah. So I did that.
Yeah, we celebrated Mother's Day, had everyone over, again, cooked a little bit, and didn't do a whole lot, honestly. It's funny, jokingly, no one else will get this, but you can appreciate it. All the seating in that house where we hosted, and they all decided to just set up lawn chairs and sit right in the driveway, all the mothers. It's like 20 couches and 30 bar stools in this house. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. That is normally how it goes. But and then I also went and saw the Doctor Strange movie. The what was it? Something of Madness, Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness. Yep.
Didn't really care for it, if I'm being honest. Yeah, wasn't.
I've been hearing it's got a horror dark vibe to it.
Yeah, that was fine. That wasn't a bad thing. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody because as we release this, it's still fairly into it. We're not really a Marvel podcast, but yeah, wasn't my favorite. There were reasons for that.
Messing up our Disney checks.
It's
more and more.
It is what it is. But I mean, I suppose it was interesting, but it didn't really. It just didn't really impress me all that much. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I've heard some.
I've been very burnt out with Marvel lately, so I don't even know where to jump back in at this point. I don't think that would be it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I mean, I don't catch all of it. It's difficult because they just come out with so much. I mean, I watched Moon Knight, and that was pretty good. I enjoyed that. Short series. But
Yeah, what is that, like 6 episodes?
I think so, yeah.
5?
Yeah, it was like 6, something like that. But yeah, Oscar Isaacs starring as Moon Knight, Mark Spector, and Stephen Grant, and another guy.
Some guy who was my favorite, but not enough to remember his name.
Well, he didn't have a name. It was the third personality that they didn't name in this season, and I don't know anything about Moon Knight, really. I know nothing about that character. That's a completely different one. But yeah, no, I mean, I mean, I've heard people say good and bad about this Strange movie. I just wasn't really on. I wasn't really on board as much, and yeah, meh.
I know it's like the most anticipated one in the past couple years for sure.
I know why. I understand why people were anticipating it, and I mean, well, it's not really a secret because it did come out about the whole, tie-in with the Illuminati, and just seeing alternate versions of some of the classic superheroes and stuff. But yeah, it could have been better. Could have been better. I mean, it was fine, but it could have been better.
So many nerds are screaming at you right now.
I don't care. I mean, there are plenty of people who like and dislike and everything. All I have to say is that they tend to kill off the characters that I actually like. Because hey, look, this might be controversial, but I stopped liking Captain America along the way. Captain America. I kind of stopped caring about Captain America. I was always an Iron Man guy, as far as Marvel goes.
There you go, another one they killed off for you.
Oh yeah, they killed him off, and they killed off Black Widow and gave her kind of a subpar movie. I mean, no offense, but the Black Widow movie was not. It was not great either. It had its good parts, but it wasn't. I thought it could have been better, personally. Yeah. But hey, old Hawkeye's still out there doing things. There was a joke about Hawkeye in the Doctor Strange movie. Something about the guy with a mohawk with a bow or something like that. Just being really flippant about it. So anyway, could have been better, but I'm sure that there's some people who really enjoyed it. So there you go. Yeah.
Well, on to other Disney topics. Of course, I guess you can't even call this Disney, seeing as how it was 20 years ago.
No, not really. I guess is this still considered canon though? I think this is actually Legends as it sits currently.
I don't see why they wouldn't. I guess other than just deeming it unimportant.
It is Legends, yeah.
I don't see how that would mess with anything else.
Well, the only thing that I guess you could potentially think about a little bit, and this is just kind of going into the novel a bit, is we have Barriss Offee, right? Mm-hmm. And Barriss Offee we meet later in Clone Wars as kind of a counterpart to Ahsoka. And in this book, she's more of a counterpart for Anakin, who is seemingly played very, very young here. Very young. Very true. Very young Padawan.
Yeah.
And I guess that sort of age mechanism there might make not as much sense, I guess, to some people, possibly.
That's true, even though there is obviously an age gap between Barriss and Ahsoka. So, but they, like you said, they don't really address that in Clone Wars, so that could kind of mess that up, I suppose.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Barriss was still a Padawan in Clone Wars, right? Was she made a knight?
I think, do we only see her once? Or is there multiple? I feel like we see her more than once, and she was still a Padawan when we first meet her, but was a knight by the end. I could be completely wrong there, but
Yeah, I'm gonna. Well, first I'm gonna hit the canon button here. I mean, let's get into canon here a little bit.
I know
Okay,
she
so
was only like 21 when she died during Order 66. So
she did wind up reaching Jedi Knight status. Obviously, Padawan under Luminara and Dooley.
which is a very underrated Jedi. Actually, both of them I feel like are a bit underrated due to their power levels.
Yeah, I mean, at least in canon, the whole thing that they kind of mention here was, as a Padawan, she struck up a friendship with Ahsoka. So I think that that's kind of maybe where a little bit of rewriting went, as opposed to being a Padawan who was, interacting with Anakin. Effectively, they're flexing her age a little bit, it seems like.
Sure.
So, and I guess that kind of makes sense. I don't know about you, but like one of the things here, just as we sort of, get into the very, very, very early stages, is it was a little jarring to have Anakin at this point being not inept, but not really kind of the natural that we sort of associated him with. It seemed like his characterization here is he is a great fighter, but not much else. Fair?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's pretty annoying in this book, I feel like. And I would agree with your statement. The way they portray him as far as interacting with not so much the other Jedi, but, well, I guess to some extent, but more like the diplomatic side of things. Diplomacy is definitely not his strong suit in this book. It's kind of annoying.
And it also kind of plays up the sort of sense that other Jedi had of Anakin maybe not going very well. And even with Obi-Wan here, there's a part in the book where Obi-Wan seems to even doubt Anakin a bit as well, which, to be honest, to me seems a little bit out of character for what we've gotten more in canon, even though almost to the point where Obi-Wan just sort of almost deceived himself at times.
Right. Yeah, because at one point he even mentions like, well, I'm kind of stuck training him because I promised my master I want to vindicate his opinion of the boy, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, I could see why this was struck off of the canon list. However, really the reason why we chose it is, one, it has Obi-Wan Kenobi on the cover, but also because seemingly it was rated reasonably highly. I mean, I've heard of this book before. I've never read it until now.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we kind of say that he's just a part of the book, but essentially he's the one that saves the day by the end of this book with his idea. Very true. Near the end, so.
Well, they kind of give Barriss, I can't speak apparently, Barriss and Luminara more of a kind of a central role.
Yeah, for sure.
In this book, I would say. But yeah, towards the end, obviously, Obi-Wan kind of comes in clutch for sure. So I guess if we would just want to kind of dive in here and just get to talking, we are centered around one planet, our planet of Ancion, which is considering secession. So they're considering whether they want to stay with the Republic or secede and kind of join our motley crew of planets that are effectively being controlled by Count Dooku. Well, I mean, a little bit of Palpatine, but through the mouthpiece of Dooku.
Yeah, yeah, which we even get a little tiny spotlight for Dooku, which, by the way, probably some of the worst voice acting ever in Audible. Did you think this was Dooku
No,
when he's talking at the end?
no.
He didn't even try.
Yeah, yeah. I'm with you there. Kind of. However, if I'm thinking about it though, so when did we say this book had came out? 2002.
Mm-hmm.
And Attack of the Clones came out when?
4?
Okay, so no, it was May 2002. This book came out. I just had that up. Just had it up. I'm clicking.
January.
Yeah. So in that regard, you could say that they didn't have a characterization of Count Dooku's voice yet.
Very true. Very true.
So
Was the Audible recorded around the same time, though?
fine. I have no idea, actually. Did they date
Yeah,
that?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm sure they say it somewhere. Publication. Okay, so it would have been the year after. It says publication date January 1st, 2003. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me actually click back in the Audible. January 23rd,
released in
2007. Yeah, so he should have known better. So yeah, just laziness.
Yeah, cool.
Just laziness. So you're gonna. I think one important thing we kind of discussed before we sort of jumped on here, and I think it bears repeat. I found this book a little bit hard to follow, if I'm just being honest with you.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, and I'm not. Again, this isn't like early criticism or anything like that, but it did feel a little hard to follow. So some of the sequence of events, I'm probably going to get mixed up a bit, which is weird because
And I won't be able to help you much with it.
yeah, it's fine. And I mean, we can give kind of general impressions in a couple of different parts, but effectively, Barris and Luminara are already on the planet and they are effectively under attack at points. Mm-hmm. We have our hut. Let's see. What? Sorg? I don't remember how they pronounce it in the audiobook.
I was
Sorg.
just listening to this like 2 hours ago, too.
I'm going to call him Sorg the Hut. And this apparently was, I believe, the first mention of this particular hut. But we have kind of these huts sort of working alongside with the Separatists and effectively, and we get a little bit more of this as the book continues and really towards the end where this is business for the huts, really. But they are trying to influence the Council of Unity or the Unity of something? Unity of Community or some Community of Unity or it was something like that. It felt kind of cheesy.
One of those for sure. Yeah.
But we have
probably Unity Council. I
don't know.
We'll just call it that.
It doesn't matter. But we have our hut who is kind of trying to push the council or this unity, whatever, in the direction of secession. And that's kind of in their business mind, the right thing to do. And there are even some corrupt in quotations, corrupt members, but members who also want to secede. But this brings into sort of more of the interesting thing for me about this planet is that it is very tribal and it is very split tribally. So there's a ton of different tribes. There's like nomadic tribes. There's, random roaming tribes. There's city tribes. There's, there's a lot of different tribes of these particular folks. And really kind of the mission here becomes, well, we've got to start to unite some of these factions so that as a whole they can agree, because if we only let effectively one tribe speak for the planet, they're going to wind up getting out of the Republic.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and dealing with these tribes based on all of their tendencies. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of these are pretty dim-witted creatures for the most part, even to the point where like some of them have mental, like diagnosable mental issues that we have to deal with in the story. And
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit for sure.
we have our super annoying, what was his name?
Tukey.
Tukey.
Well, he wasn't of the planet. He was like some other thing.
Oh, was he?
Alien thing.
Okay.
Yeah, basically this book's Jar Jar Binks.
Yes. Only, honestly, I think the dialect was worse for Tukey than Jar Jar.
Yeah, kind of was. But so anyway, the Hutt's plan is basically to kidnap Barris for some reason. I guess leverage, maybe. And they do. This succeeds. And this was probably one of the more interesting parts. So the Hutt's plan is to send 2 of the planetary folks who have like basically traumatic brain injuries effectively.
They fell off this creature at a young age and like lost eyes and broke their backs and really messed up their heads in the process. It's kind of sad, honestly.
It's very sad, but the I guess the point is that, which doesn't make a lot of sense, having a scattered mind would somehow distract the Jedi so that they wouldn't know what's coming. Is that a thing?
I mean, I guess if you link with a creature and they are scattered themselves, if you're melded with them, like my interpretation of that would be like you would have to be actually melding minds, like touching each other and everything. Just being around them, to me, it wouldn't make sense why that would affect you that much.
It seemed like it was almost categorized like a spidey sense. You know, it's like, we're going to take away their spidey sense by sending crazy people after them. Okay.
Which, by the way, these people are so disposable that they have little detonators planted in the base of their skull. It's, again, really sad characters.
Yeah, the Hutt does implant some explosives, and they have to check in every so often by comm. But anyway...
And why would you agree to this, even if you have mental issues?
Because they have mental issues. I don't know. I have no idea. Why not? They're crazy. So there's the first attack, right? And it's a failed attack by this Hutt's major domo, which I don't remember his name. Bolgan or something like that.
Yeah, Bolgan sounds right.
No, it's not. It's something with an ogre in it. Maybe if I stare at this list of names long enough, I'll figure it.
These names just kind of all go together. So
I want to say like Ogre-Meyer, but I think that Ogre-Meyer's like a thing in like World of Warcraft or something. Ogamore. That's
Ogamore?
It. Ogamore. And this is
Is Bogor one of the 2 that like kidnap Barris?
So there's Bolgan. Bolgan was one of them. Yeah, they all had somewhat similar names, but Ogamore was the major domo to the Hutt. And
not particularly a smart major domo either.
Not really.
All the other ones we've seen.
Yeah, not really. But his first attack fails by effectively using the mercenaries. And so then we get the kidnapping plot, which actually does work. And it's kind of goofy in a way. But the first attack is actually thwarted by the entrance of Obi-Wan and Anakin, who arrive 2 days early to the planet. And they sense danger, they help out. And it was even sort of implied that it's possible that Luminara and Barris couldn't have dealt with these folks. Kind of punks out Luminara a little bit.
Honestly, other than a few very small sections, I feel like they could have dealt with everything that happened on their own except for Obi-Wan's plan. Truthfully. So I don't get this. I get what you're saying.
Now, to be fair, it is said a lot that, like, you know, a Jedi, even at the height of training, can only last so long in battle. and this is kind of how the clones were able to, defeat the Jedi in Order 66 is they just shot him a ton.
Yeah.
And eventually,
overwhelming.
eventually a bolt would get past, and then you'd lose your focus and everything. So a Jedi,
Except for Yoda on the opening screen, the menu screen for Revenge of the Sith.
yeah, for sure. But basically, they can only last for so long. But it just sort of seemed a little bit like, I mean, okay, whatever. Let's keep it moving. You got to get Obi-Wan and Anakin in here. And they are able to deal with the first wave. However, we get to, the shopping plaza, and Barriss just has to go look at stuff and then gets sprayed in the face with gas.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I guess we keep finding more reasons why they decanonize the book. She's kind of extremely immature in this compared to even in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, very young.
Yeah.
Very young.
She's prone to like major bouts of aggression, and at least near the end of the book. And yeah, she just, it's ironic that they keep judging Anakin in this book. 'Cause it's like, she's cool, but like she's not doing a whole lot better necessarily in this.
No, and one of the things that they both had kind of had mentioned about them was, well, there was one part where Anakin, it's like, shoot, what was it? The Force isn't like armor. You have to constantly call on it. You have to live in it. You have to effectively feel it all the time. You can't just, wait for it to tell you what to do type of thing.
Right.
Which is interesting because it's a pretty stark contrast to the High Republic, where they are actually driven more by the will of the Force. Whereas here, it begins in this era where the Jedi are truly using the Force as opposed to living with the Force, which is, kind of the Qui-Gon thing where he's like trying to get more in touch with the living Force, living in the moment, as opposed to constantly trying to bend the will of the Force to them.
If only Qui-Gon could have restarted the Jedi Order. If he could have survived.
Well, I don't know.
Probably would have went better than it did for Luke.
Possibly. You would have had to have really cleaned house and everything.
Yeah.
But, so Barriss is captured, and she's, what the hell was this sack thing? It was like the unbreakable sack. It's like, now we're crossing into Harry Potter. We put an unbreakable spell on it. She can't possibly get out of my sack.
It's force proof. It's force proof.
That was a little bit weird. Now, the interesting thing is we actually deal with our two thugs kind of like quickly and very, very just quickly. It was all just very quick and easy.
It's kind of, I don't want to say awkward, but some of the dialogue in it, even though obviously they have mental issues, so they're going to kind of talk strangely, but like the way they get to deal with the second guard is just kind of comical in a way.
Well, this highlights Barriss's her like healing ability, and this was actually something I thought a little bit about this because all the Jedi, I mean, Jedi weren't really meant to be warriors, so to speak. They just are. But most of the Jedi have some secondary skill or interest. Like, in Master and Apprentice, we had Qui-Gon being very studious in the library, like Obi-Wan, little Obi-Wan's like, oh God, another book, Qui-Gon. I don't want to read more books and practice the same forms over and over. But in this case, Barriss is a healer.
And in turn, she's a bit of a physician, knowing a lot about the anatomy of the people of this world. Kind of brings up a question. Try not to get too off topic here, but like the Jedi of this era actually had resources that I won't say much about the High Republic, but like Luke never got really to be as lucky as them. Imagine what kind of healer he could have been if he had been able to train all of his young adult life as a physician like Barris got to. I mean, the potential that he could have reached if he had all this free time to focus on studies.
Heck, maybe Ben Solo could have lived.
Ooh,
He could have healed
that's
Rey and
harsh.
lived, and they could have had little babies, and all the fan fictions would have been just their little minds would have been blown.
Little Raylo 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting part for sure. But Barris notices there's something off about these two little scoundrels, little scamps, and she fixes one of them.
And A starts talking like he's sophisticated, and it freaks out his buddy.
Yes. Oh, you have fixed me. My God, I've lived so much of my life without my brain, and now I have it back. I can't thank you
My
enough.
God, could you fix my discs? My back is terrible.
It's like, thank you for fixing my brain. I very much appreciate it. I can think a lot now, but the rest of my body is in constant pain.
L3, could you please at least adjust L3? I know you could do it with the Force.
Yeah, this was kind of a weird one, though, for me, to be honest with you. Like, healing's one thing. Barris is effectively like rewiring these two folks' brains.
Kind of comes dangerously close to brainwashing in a way
Kind of.
that gets kind of uncomfortable to think about. So I'll choose not to.
I don't
Imagine
know.
how. I think that's how, this book has convinced me that's how the Jedi get their funds for the temple. They're all brain surgeons.
jeez.
They'll make ridiculous amounts of money doing brain surgery on the side.
See, I don't know if I've ever heard of this specific power before. I mean, healing, yes, but this is more. I mean, these two have lived with this stuff for a while. It's not recent, so it's become kind of a part of their makeup, and she's just completely healing them back to normal.
Yeah. Well, it kind of makes you wonder if it's, and I'm going to tell you now, I won't remember his name, but we have, is it Emery from High Republic who's able to kind of mess with your mood in a way?
I think
Kind
it
of-
was Emery, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder if it's the same type of power. Like, is he manipulating, like rewiring your brain to make you happy temporarily? Like,
I feel like that's more of just sending out positive vibes, bro. He's just sending out all his positive vibes to the homies. Whereas this one is like, this is like complicated brain surgery stuff in a matter of seconds.
right? She describes it as like, was it one neuron not making the path is essentially what's causing all of this, and she just has to link that one, and everything's good.
Yeah, it seemed a little bit too OP for me, if I'm just being
Yeah.
honest.
Because
Especially
at that point, it's like, so could you just shut off a few neurons and kill anyone instantly? Do you have to be touching them? Could you just do that to like a group of 10 assailants?
yeah, exactly.
Are you the god of the Force? Like, are you Abeloth?
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, and this, I would call it advanced force power in a person who seemingly can't do much else at this point.
Yeah, we even a little bit further along, she's like super nervous about her little choreography. Like she's worried she's gonna cut her leg off.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're that non-proficient with a lightsaber, but you can do this. I don't know. It's a little bit weird.
Yeah, and it could just be a confidence thing, confident in this, not in the others, I suppose. But anyway, she fixes our two thugs, and then they join the crew.
Yeah. Life dead.
Life, yeah, life debt, life debt, life debt. So we do get back to our group of friends, and this is where I start to get a little murky on the plot. I'm going to be honest, but effectively, our Jedi have to go out into the we'll call it the wastes. I don't remember exactly what the phrase they use, to make peace with one of the tribes out there. And they go. How lame is that? This recap is brought to you by. So they go out and they meet a sentry, just somebody out riding, and like, yeah, hey, our leaders will greet you. Oh, sweet. That's all we need. It's like, no, I mean, this is just like politeness.
It's bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like, we have to do this.
Yeah. And not to rush us too far along, but getting through sort of the minutia, an agreement is struck that the Jedi will help this tribe defeat their perennial antithesis in their other tribe so that they can reign supreme. And to the astonishment of all, Obi-Wan's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll help you, wink, wink, deal with them. But yeah, you had kind of mentioned
Luminar is about to smack him at this point.
That's true. That is kind of true. But this was a little bit before that the agreement was reached. They had to be tested for their truthfulness. And this is where you got their little presentations, which I don't think this writer really cared that much about because he really didn't describe them at all.
Right.
Luminara did like a sand dance.
Oh, she made glass and gems.
I mean,
which that's
sure.
not how you make gems, but that's fine.
She threw some sand up, she let some sand roll, and then she made stuff out of it. Yeah, good job. It's cool.
Yeah.
Barriss did her little lightsaber display, nearly whacking off her foot.
Anakin sings.
Yeah, that was something.
That was super cringy.
A little cringy. And then Obi-Wan tells a story.
Yeah, it's great.
Sick. And then, yeah, we'll help you, wink, wink, deal with your enemies. But yeah, I feel like the writer just maybe didn't feel there was a need to elaborate that, but it kind of seems like it could have been a kind of an epic thing. Like, tell the whole story, like of Obi-Wan's story, like make it up,
right?
Like tell this whole thing, get us captivated. Like maybe write one bar, a couple bars of the song that Anakin sung,
Right, do something instead of being like, oh, I don't really remember any of the lyrics. My mom used to sing it to me. I'm probably not singing the song anymore. But here it is.
Yeah, kind of weird in that regard. But now they're trusted, and we're going to defeat the enemies, which it's pointed out that they don't have heavy weaponry. They're only engaging with traditional weapons, swords, spears, bows, and some blasters. Because by their own admission, and this actually brings up an old episode of Star Trek, the original series. I don't remember the name of the episode, but effectively they go to a planet and they're at war. There's two warring factions, but instead of, I think I mentioned this to you in another episode, I feel like. But anyway, so they're just playing war games. The computers are simulating their war, but the people that are marked as casualties actually commit effectively suicide by going into vaporization chambers. And the crew of the Enterprise is actually a part of the casualty list, and they have to fight all this out, and they destroy their machines so that they actually have to talk. Well, in this case, we're going to war, but effectively it winds up being a 3-tiered war. So you have our two sides, but the Jedi are like, well, we're not fighting for you. They are effectively fighting
for the planet, essentially.
Yeah. And they wind up fighting both tribes without hurting or killing anybody, only basically taking out their weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Obi-Wan's plan here is to get them talking. This is the whole thing. You guys have to talk. There are things bigger than this little conflict of yours, and it's gotta stop. And kind of through both of the tribes' mutual annoyance, they actually wind up doing it because they're kind of annoyed by the Jedi in a way.
Right. Yeah, they just kind of want to get rid of them and get back to their day-to-day, essentially.
It's like, well, we can make war later. Let's just deal with the Jedi plan, then we'll kill each other later. Sick. Okay.
Right.
See you at Mom's for spaghetti tomorrow, right? All right.
They couldn't even agree on a spot to host the next meeting without getting into a fight, which I thought was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. And we didn't really elaborate why they're fighting either. It's kind of the point where maybe they don't even know anymore.
It's just a tribal honor and power thing more than anything. I don't think they really explain it very well.
No, I would say they don't either. Well, so we have secured these two tribes here with a peace. And it's kind of a race back to town to get the word back to their council to stop them from seceding from the Republic.
Mm-hmm.
However, they're thwarted.
Comms are down.
Comms are down. Oh no. Yeah, they stop in a little inn. The comms are down, being jammed. And
Which, by the way, is just great that, like, this isn't realistically something someone of that tier of criminal would be able to do in our reality. But they can in that reality.
oh yeah, sure.
Like, comm systems are so stupid in Star Wars.
Yeah, they certainly can be. But then we basically just get fighting in the street. The Hutt's forces are, attempting to stop the Jedi, and the Jedi are trying to make their short jaunt to the council chambers to report on what they have.
Yeah.
Which they do. They
I
make
just
it.
I imagine this entire sequence is like playing through Streets of Rage. Just like going through
Beat 'em
each
ups.
neighborhood and every little sidewalk. Oh, more generic enemies.
Quick, Anakin, eat the turkey. The what? Eat the turkey. It will revive your health. What? A turkey? Yes, just like sit on it, like you're pawning it, noob. It's fine. Pawn that turkey.
Barris, why did you pick up another lead pipe? You have a lightsaber.
Barris, stop taking the bags
wanna
of money.
throw it.
We all need those evenly distributed for later.
I need all the one-ups. I keep dying.
Yeah, it kind
And the healer. No one's protecting the healer in the group.
Oh God, healer down, healer down. We need more tanks.
our tank?
We need more
Who's our
tanks,
tank?
Barris, not healers.
Who's our tank in this? Luminara, I guess.
Yeah, kind of.
She
yeah.
can just make a shield wall of gems and glass from sand.
There you go. Yeah, I mean the battle didn't really seem all that fraught with tension, if I'm being honest.
Well, not after they just defended themselves against two literal warring factions. Like, well, yeah, they're going to get through a few thugs.
Yeah, didn't really make very long work of that. We wind up at the council chambers, and they agree to stay with the Republic. I mean that is what it is. They stay with the
Pretty
Republic.
anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Like, the Hutt shows up, shoots his major domo, who's like, he's got a recorder, and he comes to like tell on everybody.
Is that what he
shoots
was
them,
gonna
and
do?
Then they're like, yeah,
Was
basically.
that the gist?
And I feel like it's like they voted with his steaming body still on the floor. Like, we're just gonna stay with the Republic.
Yeah. There's no time. There's no time to clear up the body. You must vote now.
Please, let's just get this vote over with. The smell is terrible in here.
God. Yeah. I do find it kind of interesting the conversation though that we already alluded to earlier between our Hutt and Barris, because Barris is like, she's angry, and it's like it's just business. It's just like, I'm just trying to do the best business here. But he lost.
Yeah.
God, what was after that? Was there anything much after that?
Yeah, we have our little final backstab from what's her name? I just had her pulled up.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, just hold on.
Come on, where's the details?
Shumei.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Commerce
Shun'ei.
Guild person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which we didn't really talk about her earlier. Not that there's a whole lot to bring up at this point, but she like facilitated all this. And is it stated that she's the one that hired the Hut to do all this?
I think that was kind of the gist, kind of like Dooku, Shumai, Hut sort of
Yeah.
thing there.
Okay. I thought so.
Yeah. Buh.
It's not really a lot to go over. She just basically has an argument with one of the other people who's in this secession pro group, and she throws him down like 16 flights of stairs, essentially. It's great.
Yeah, I mean there's really not much to the character. She just kind of facilitated the will of Dooku, so to speak. Now, I guess the only other interesting thing is this planet wasn't really consequential, but they kind of tried to use it as sort of a plot point of, one crack will eventually widen, and as this planet falls, others will fall, which technically could be true. Small planet falls, other small planets could fall. Small planets lead to big planets, or medium planets to big planets, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and the way they tied it in with a bunch of other planets through treaties and brokering different deals was kind of interesting because, I mean, it is a very non-consequential planet for the most part, and then you find out potentially how many more people could follow it in leaving. It definitely does get kind of interesting.
That's the politics thing. There are a lot of people that do enjoy Star Wars politics, right?
Yeah.
I think I fall more into the politics with a lightsaber type of deal. Aggressive negotiations, perhaps, are a little bit more interesting to me than sort of the minutia. Because there were even a couple of times throughout the book where, Luminara sort of says, Barriss doesn't really understand politics. Well, that's probably good.
Right. Should a Jedi ever worry about politics?
They do.
Honestly.
They do a lot. We all know what happened to them. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Probably right.
And really, at end of the day, it's really not even worth analyzing the politics to me because we know what happens. And
Right.
I guess to some extent, it's interesting to see the decisions that led to the crumbling of the Republic, how democracy dies and all that. But like,
Thunderous applause.
because they're just kind of stupid. They're really stupid. All the governors and senators in Star Wars are really stupid.
Easily influenced. By the minutia, and I think that that's one of kind of the lessons here, the not so subtle lessons that most of these senators and so forth are more out for power than for actually protecting their worlds. I mean, even like this isn't really a great example, but it is an example, like with Palpatine. So Palpatine was of Naboo, but he also facilitated the Trade Federation blockading Naboo and creating the whole issue with Episode 1. And I can't say that wouldn't have potentially been a plan for other ambitious senators of other planets when you think about it, with how corrupt the political system in this era was. So politics corrupts, and I think that that's the broader point of Star Wars that perhaps a lot of people don't talk about enough because politics is boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it gets uncomfortable to bring up because you start, connecting dots to little references to our own world, essentially, our own government. Star Wars does make a good example of that, I think.
I think
It's not something that necessarily is the reason I want to watch or consume Star Wars content, but it's a good point,
I think it makes a subtle point, which oftentimes wind up being better than glaring in your face. And, I also participate in a Star Trek podcast. These are the Voyages, Buddy Chase and Eric and all that. And we've talked a lot recently about the newer series being very, very blatant and in your face about their leanings. Now, for good or bad, they're there, front and center in your face. And sometimes those blatant reminders are always going to be a turnoff because they effectively negate any sort of debate or conversation about it, because this is obviously bad. It's like, but you could analyze this and find goods and bads out of everything if you really think
Right.
about it too much. Whereas in
Yeah.
Star Wars, the intrigue is a little bit more subdued, masked, in the background, but it's always there. You just don't have to be beat over the head with it because you have these laser sword wielders that are pretty darn cool.
Right. And I mean, I think Star Wars has done a good job of not actually pushing an agenda one way or the other when it comes to portraying the senators of the Republic. It really just focuses on one simple thing. The very subtle, slow loss of freedom and democracy out of fear. Fear of war, fear
Yep.
of internal conflict. I mean, essentially, it's a civil war. So,
Well, it also brings up the kind of points of how much freedom are you willing to sacrifice for safety, and that was kind of what the Empire was about. Was
Yeah.
we will give you ultimate safety at the cost of effectively your privacy, your freedoms, and all of that. You will not truly be free. You will live within this, and we will keep you, in quotation, safe. Well, of course, that wasn't Palpatine's goal at all. He just wanted control because he's
Right.
evil. He's the epitome of evil. He is a Sith.
yeah. And you could argue that the Empire really started when emergency powers were given to Palpatine.
Well, you could even make some arguments that, with as weak as Chancellor Valorum was, that you already had the cracks, perhaps even without Palpatine, because you didn't have strong leadership, and you kind of let the Senate run roughshod, and there were no consequences effectively. I mean, think about the Trade Federation.
Right.
Trade Federation still ran. Newt Gunray became a patsy, which, I mean, he was technically the leader of the Trade Federation, right? But he became a bit of a patsy, and the Trade Federation continued because they were powerful.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a lot in there, but it also helps that it was a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So
Right. Long, long time ago, where technology was amazing and people made the same stupid mistakes.
exactly. But yeah, we kind of get the rosy end of the book, so to speak. Planet stays. Obviously, there's sort of the looming threat, of course. But I guess the only other thing I'd really talk about here is really Obi-Wan. So Obi-Wan, throughout this book, even though he might not have been the main character, he was the constant. He was the backbone. I hate to say this because I don't really want to dog Luminara much, but Luminara probably wouldn't have had the same outcome had, that Obi-Wan proposed. Am I being too bold
No.
in that?
No, I would agree with that. And there are multiple times when they bring up the fact that Luminar is pretty uncomfortable with the situation or unsure of how to move forward, and kind of leans on Obi-Wan through all of this to be even though she's the Jedi Master at this point, and he's technically she's listed as a Jedi Master in the character list.
Okay.
So that might just be her general status as of right now in Star Wars. I'm not sure, but
See, that was actually another thing, because they did introduce themselves a little later on as knights, And
really?
they called themselves masters only because they had Padawans, but not necessarily I'm Jedi Master Luminara. This is Jedi Master Luminara. I'm Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. They kind of announced themselves as knights. Now, Luminara was a master eventually. So was Obi-Wan, considered a master. He was also a member of the council. But again, I can't call it here because I think that some of that stuff was so flexed that it's kind of hard. I think that's a hard thing to track for me, at least. But it did kind of feel at the beginning of the book, Luminara was going to be the master and Obi-Wan was going to be the support. And then that flipped for me
Yeah.
very quickly.
Very abruptly.
Yeah. Here's a question. If Obi-Wan Kenobi led the Jedi Council instead of Mace Windu, do you think things would have been any different? I mean, seriously.
Are you referring specifically to the Palpatine scene?
Nope. Let's just say that Obi-Wan Kenobi was the leader of the council. It doesn't matter when. Just let's say he is leader. I don't know. Mace Windu goes off on a force quest or some vision. He lets a lizard crawl up his nose, Boba Fett style. And Yoda's like, hey, I'm going to go kill a couple million frogs on this cool swamp planet. I'll be back. Kind of like in High Republic where he just disappears. And let's just say Obi-Wan Kenobi steps up and he's like, you know what? I'm going to just be awesome. Do you think things could have been different?
But yeah, I think probably the first thing that would have been different is when Ki-Adi-Mundi suggested he be the one to attack Grievous. He'd be like, no, you can go fight Grievous. I'm not doing that. But no, in all honesty, I think so, because I think Obi-Wan would have tried to, even though he had carved his own path and beliefs, he would have tried to at least attempt to bring the council more towards the path of following the living force, honoring Qui-Gon a bit more. Obviously, Qui-Gon and Mace had a very different opinion of the Force. I mean, Mace Windu literally used the Force as a tool and had very little respect for it, I personally think. So I think Obi-Wan would have led the council down a different path. I think there's potential they could have not uncovered Sidious's identity, obviously because of his Force abilities, but maybe investigated Palpatine just for how obvious he was. Let's be honest. I mean, Yoda and Mace Windu just kind of ignored the fact that he was clearly playing both sides.
Before I give my opinion on that, then let's ask this question. So switch Obi-Wan Kenobi and Mace Windu on the balcony scene with Palpatine. Obi-Wan's he's directing the lightning back at Palpatine. Anakin's like, no, Master, no, Obi-Wan, we have to take him in. He's like, nah, Anakin, we must destroy him.
I have the high ground. I'm up on this step.
He's just up.
I got this.
He's just up on like Palpatine's chair. Anakin, how many times must I tell you? The high ground always wins.
Think, Anakin, think.
You are my brother. Seriously. So in that scene, do you think things would have went differently? Because the turning point is Anakin's turn, right? Do you think he would have been able to turn against Obi-Wan as he did with Mace Windu?
I personally don't think so, because I think the whole point of that scene was an opportunity for Anakin to finally get back at someone who had treated him so poorly from day one. And it was quite fitting that they give the little snippets of that throughout the movies about how much disdain Mace holds for the fact that Anakin's even being trained, let alone could potentially be a master. Well, let's see. Obi-Wan probably would have made him a master.
Maybe.
Unlike Mace, which would have given him access to the information he sought to help Padme, which would have taken a lot of Palpatine's leverage away, I think, in turning him. And also not setting him up in a position to get revenge on someone that he hated, truthfully. So I would kind of lean towards Anakin not turning if Obi-Wan would have been in that room and had been the leader of the council.
I personally think if Obi-Wan would have led the council, I don't know that much would have been different. And I only say that because I think the council was so fractured. I don't think that the Jedi of that era were as cool as people think they were. I think that they were shells of themselves. I think that they were blown out by effectively being warriors instead of living within the Force more. I think that, your pillars, Mace Windu and Yoda, were so lost themselves that it was really difficult. If for any of you listening, if you haven't picked up Master and Apprentice and Dooku Jedi Lost, highly encourage you to do that.
Some of the best Star Wars content, hands down.
100%. And I think that both of those books, namely the Dooku Jedi Lost, I think that portrays the fracture of the council the best.
Yeah, and it actually portrays Dooku in a very sympathetic light. Like, that book is emotional.
You could 100%
Quite
get on
emotional.
Dooku's side. 100%.
Yeah.
But I don't think necessarily if Obi-Wan would have led the council, things would have been that different given all the other pieces. I do think that if Obi-Wan were in the room, things would have been different. I think if Yoda would have been in the room, things would have been different as well. But you're right. I truly agree with you that the catalyst for that was Mace Windu was the wrong guy to be there at that time. Because Mace
You
Windu...
could even argue that Anakin would have been brought in to confront Palpatine potentially if it had been Obi-Wan and Yoda instead, once he had given them that information.
Possibly. But you also did mention another thing about Padme, and I think, we've talked about this whole stuff before, but realistically, one, Obi-Wan knew. He knew, and this was the cool part, I think, of the last season of Clone Wars, was that it's like, hey, Anakin, I know you totally knocked her up. I know I'm still going to act like I don't know in Revenge of the Sith, but what's Revenge of the Sith? Don't worry about that. We'll get to that later.
It's when you become a dick.
Yes. Things will happen. Just remember, take the low ground.
Ignore everything I say.
Just take...
From this point on.
Take the low ground.
When I warn you of things, ignore me.
If you feel like jumping, just jump. It's good. Don't worry.
Just go ahead and jump.
Just jump around. But yeah, the Padme thing, I think Anakin was so driven by fear. The only thing that would have dissuaded the fear is if the council would have acknowledged the relationship and been like, okay, well, fine, we're cool with this. I think if you would have eliminated the fear, things would have been different. But the whole turning of Anakin was built upon fear. He was a kid who feared his entire life. He was bred upon fear. But yeah, if Obi-Wan were leader of the council, I don't think much would have changed. If Obi-Wan were in the room with Palpatine and Anakin, I think things probably would have been different. Maybe.
Yeah, and I guess that's mainly what I was focusing on. I wasn't considering like what would have happened post Palpatine scene. And you make a comment about how lost the Jedi were. I kind of, again, we're padding a book that doesn't have a lot left that we can talk about,
sure.
I guess, but it's more content about Obi-Wan, so it's great. Were they truly Jedi? Honestly, when we actually start breaking it down fundamentally, like these Jedi we see from this era, were they really Jedi in anything but name? Or could you argue that they are just the same as other light side force wielding groups that had popped up throughout the millennia? I mean, it to me, from what I understand, mainly coming from things that Qui-Gon has said and a few other Grey Jedi, the beliefs that they would have, I don't feel like this era was filled with true Jedi in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I think Obi-Wan was probably the closest living example. By the time Revenge of the Sith rolled around, along with a few other people. But I don't know. There, like you said, there's really not much to save at that point.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a lot. It's a lot, but I think probably just to wrap up our book review, that's pretty much all we have to say, right, on the book.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick rating. What do you think out of 5 and why?
Out of 5, I'll give it like a. I give it a 3 point. That threshold between 3.9 and 4 is always kind of difficult for a book like this. I don't want to say it's a bad book, and to me, a 3.9 isn't necessarily a bad book, but there's nothing particularly special about it either. So even if I'm using this rating wrong, I'm going to say 3.9. It doesn't break into that next tier for me. I don't know if it was because of the book or because of what I had going on while listening to the book, but it was kind of disjointed, I feel like, and kind of difficult to follow. The characters, along with the way they were voiced, their names being similar and everything, it was hard to distinguish one from the other. The tribes were hard to distinguish. I hit these points where, like, I did not know which tribe was talking to our group, honestly. So, I mean, yeah, it's a decent tie-in to the movie. Kind of makes Luminara seem a little bit less confident and capable than I think she truly is. It makes Anakin look like a total dweeb, personally, I think, incapable of talking to people.
Yeah.
And we don't get as much Obi-Wan as I'd like, truthfully, other than a few sections. So, yeah, not a terrible book, but it's nothing amazing.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, it was a little bit of a confusing read, if I'm being honest. It was a fine sort of shortish story. Kind of showed Obi-Wan being Obi-Wan. Different categorization or characterization of Barriss and Anakin. Kind of nerfed Luminara a little bit. It was just kind of a Midland story. It could have been better. It could have been worse. Could have had more detail in some places that would have maybe helped things out a little bit. Also felt like a fairly told story, like I've heard this story before type of thing. But, you know, I wonder if we would have had this podcast back then, if it would have been, you know, we've been kids, but if we would have had this podcast back then, would things have been a little different? You know, the tie-in and everything, perhaps. But I'm going to go lower, I would say, probably quite a bit lower. Just in the rating. Let me see. What's our good old Goodreads again? 3.49, just under 5,000 ratings. I would say I'm actually more in the 3.2 range.
Ooh, my. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I probably wouldn't read it again. I probably wouldn't be into revisiting it again. And I think some of the characterizations of the characters was just not good enough for me. in what we got later. And I'm judging this based upon years later with a lot of other media, probably coloring the opinion a bit. But at least did give us a little bit of a fun little talking point there towards the end. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's
Definitely.
fine.
Yeah, sometimes the lack of content is the best part. It brings up topics that we wouldn't necessarily make a video about.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So that's pretty much the book review there. What do we have next week? What's next week's topic about? Do you remember?
Do we have our comic next week?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
So technically, this was we did switch some things around a bit. We were supposed to do
Brotherhood.
Approaching Storm on the 23rd. So yeah, was it Brotherhood next?
Yeah, the new Brotherhood book, which just came out no, it was this week. It was a couple days ago. That's why we switched it up, because there was going to be not enough time for us to get this in. Let's see. Let's look this bad boy up. Mike Chen. Star Wars Brotherhood, yeah, it was released on the 10th. We are recording this on the 11th, so it was literally released yesterday. We'd have had a day. The audio, oh boy, the audio book went up in
12 hours, 45 minutes.
not one of our
There's no
longest
way.
ones, though.
No, but in a day, there's no way.
No. Bit more expensive audiobook. I seem to remember when I pre-ordered this, it was in the 20s. Right now, it's $30.63 for the audiobook. That's an expensive
Gotta
audiobook.
love credits.
Yes.
This is what I like spending them on.
Now, let's see what the jacket says on this. The Clone Wars have begun. Battle lines are being drawn throughout the galaxy. With every world that joins the Separatists, the peace guarded by the Jedi Order is slipping through their fingers. Maybe I should try and do this in the Clone Wars series voice. The Clone Wars have begun. Battle lines are being drawn throughout the galaxy. With every world that joins the Separatists, the peace... I can't even do it. That's not even the right voice. It's been a while since I've watched Clone Wars.
Get back to operating your destroyer. Come on now.
After explosion devastates Canto Nimordia, the Jewel of Trade Federation, Republic is blamed. So it looks like a little sabotage on Nimordia. Republic is being blamed. Jedi dispatch Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of the Order's most gifted diplomatic minds, to investigate the crime. Sweet. So yeah, we're gonna be on Nimordia, and Asajj Ventress is gonna make a little appearance here. Oh, hey, that was one other thing that I didn't mention. Why is it that Obi-Wan is just such a ladies' man? Because like even in this, like Luminara is like, she likes his little smile. Yeah. Everybody loves Obi-Wan.
Right. It's just a ladies' man.
He is a ladies' man. Also, apparently in this book, Anakin does rise to Jedi Knight. So this is when he's kind of made Jedi Knight.
Yeah, there's some mention in the description about the rising friction kind of between them as he realizes he's on almost equal footing with the man that raised him. Which clearly he was not.
Well,
he was on lower footing.
Yeah, that's
all
his.
along.
That's his unfortunate hubris kicking up there. Hey, by the way, Jonathan Davis is our narrator for this book. Did The Force Unleashed, Master and Apprentice. He did Master and Apprentice, so pretty sick. So he's going to be our narrator. No Mark Thompson, no Robert Petkoff. Oh no! What will we do?
No idea.
Look, we do love Mark Thompson and Robert Petkoff. Sometimes you just have to switch up those voices. It's nice to have a switch. But yes,
Which,
after
by the way, this appears to be. What is this? Is this his first Star Wars book?
No, I just said his.
No.
No. Oh, you're talking about the author?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was like,
It looks like it.
It's like I literally just told you that the narrator
Yeah, no.
narrated other stuff. Are you dumb? Are you stupid?
But no. So he has 5 titles total on Audible. Looks like this will be his first venture into the wars in the stars.
I feel like we talked about that a little bit last week as well when we looked them up. But yeah, so this will be kind of like, this is major stuff. And you know what? It's good to get new people in. It's good to get new people in.
Absolutely.
As much as we've dogged High Republic with some of, well, I mean, like Claudia Gray in there, Justina Ireland, like some of these names that have been writing a lot recently. I don't know, man. Sometimes it's cool to get some new blood in there. So yeah, I'm
Exactly.
down. I'm down. I'm hoping it's good, but that's what we're going to do next week. And then after that is the Kenobi series start. Episodes 1 and 2 will release Friday the 27th. And we will, of course, the following Monday have it out like normal. We're not rushing to get these things out. We'll release them on our normal release schedule. But
yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this. We haven't had a show to look forward to in a while, and it's nice to, obviously with the books, we typically only get one read in before recording.
Yeah.
It's nice to get a couple of watches in, catch all the things we might have missed, maybe digest a little bit of the Easter egg content and everything to really talk about it. I love going through the shows like this. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. And you know what? Honestly, like the listens always tack up for shows. People do love the show content. So I totally 100% understand. But yeah, I think that's about it, folks. So make sure to follow us on all the socials at TC Plan Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. You can, of course, listen to the show wherever you're currently listening to it from. I think we're pretty much posted everywhere by now. And of course, if you'd like to interact, just send us an email, tcplanpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any thoughts or theories on this book or next week's book or the Kenobi series, any theories you want to just have us expound upon, we will. But you got to write us. That's the only way we know, because we don't have, like force abilities that just allow us to read your mind over long distances.
That's right. Or change your minds. Make you
we can be very persuasive.
in less pain.
Exactly. So anyway, folks, I think that is it for now. So you guys have a good rest of your week.
And as always, may the Force be with you.